Welcome to the Golden for Culture podcast, where faith, leadership, and corporate strategy collide to transform how we lead. I'm your host, Jeff Cumberbatch, and today we're tackling one of the most significant leadership shifts of our time. Corporate America has built its talent strategies around diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, for years. Companies invested millions, created new roles, and launched initiatives to close leadership gaps and build more inclusive workplaces. But today, DEI is disappearing. It's being removed from corporate structures, budget slashed, and government policies like Project 2025 designed to eliminate DEI from federal programs and beyond. And here's the truth. Whether you agree or disagree with DEI's removal doesn't change the fact that companies are now faced with a massive question. What comes next? How do we ensure that leadership development doesn't just collapse without DEI? How do we build leadership strategies that work without relying on policies that can be taken away? Golden for Culture comes in here because leadership development doesn't disappear just because DEI does. Golden for Culture is not just another DEI initiative. It is the next evolution of leadership development. It's a system designed to meet the leadership demands of a post-DEI corporate landscape, a system rooted in merit, faith, strategy, and results. And more than that, it's a global, faith-based corporate strategy. Because leadership isn't just about business outcomes, it's about leading with conviction, integrity, and purpose. It's about building leaders who can navigate change, uncertainty, and complexity with wisdom and strategy. That's why Golden for Culture is bigger than DEI, corporate policies, and political cycles. It's a faith-driven leadership framework that develops executives who operate from wisdom, ethical leadership, and a long-term vision. Before we go any further, let me earn the right to your time. Why should you listen to me? I'm a senior talent management practitioner, which means my entire career has been about identifying, developing, and elevating top-tier talent. I've spent over 2 decades building executive development programs, leading business transformation, and shaping leadership pipelines at some of the biggest brands in the world. Let me take it a step further. I worked at McDonald's, the corporate empire of the franchise business. I wasn't just another HR professional. I was the U.S. talent manager responsible for building and developing leadership pipelines across the country. I worked with global partners, shaping talent strategies that prepared people to step into leadership, not because of a quota or a policy, but because they were trained, battle-tested, and ready to lead. That experience shaped my understanding of how leadership works, not in theory, not in a boardroom discussion, but in real business environments, where leadership makes or breaks a company's success. And what I learned, leadership isn't about checking a box. It isn't about filling quotas. It's about building people who are truly prepared to lead. And now, with the removal of DEI, that responsibility has never been greater. Let's discuss why DEI is being removed and what that means for leadership moving forward. There's no denying that DEI created real progress in some areas. It forced companies to take accountability, track leadership disparities, and recognize where talent development failed certain groups. It also opened doors for many professionals who had previously been overlooked. That mattered. That created real change. But where did DEI fall short? First, it became about quotas instead of quality. Instead of genuinely preparing leaders, companies started filling positions based on representation, not readiness. And when leaders aren't adequately developed, they fail. Not because of who they are, but because they weren't set up for success. Second, DEI didn't create a sustainable leadership model. Once companies started cutting budgets, DEI was the first thing to go, because it was built as a temporary fix, not a long-term strategy. And now, as government policies shift and companies phase out DEI, we're left with the same leadership gaps we had before. That's why Golden for Culture is the solution, because leadership development should never be tied to a temporary initiative. It should be a system that works in any environment, policy landscape, or company structure. DEI may be gone, but leadership still needs to be built, and Golden for Culture is how we do it. At the core of Golden for Culture are 4 foundational pillars, a framework that builds leaders who are ready, capable, and developed for long-term success. faith-based leadership, because leadership without values isn't leadership. Corporate integrity and strategy, because leadership isn't just about vision, it's about execution. Executive career development, because titles don't make leaders, preparation does. Political and cultural intelligence, because leadership doesn't exist in a vacuum. If you don't understand the system, you can't change it. And then the 5 core principles of leadership success, faith as a leadership tool. Leadership requires conviction and principle, strategic adaptability, the ability to thrive regardless of political or economic shifts, the gold standard for ethical leadership. We don't follow trends, we set the benchmark. High performance, culture, and career growth. Because true leadership is about elevating others. Global impact leadership that works across industries, across borders, across political climates. This is not just a response to DEI being removed. This is the leadership model that should have existed all along. So, what does this mean for you? If you're an executive, ask yourself, is your leadership pipeline built for long-term success, or are you scrambling to figure out what comes next? If you're in HR, ask yourself, are you genuinely developing top talent or trying to fill gaps left behind by DEI? And if you're a professional, ask yourself, are you positioning yourself for success based on merit, skill, and strategy, or are you just hoping the system works in your favor? The time to act is now. DEI is gone, but leadership development isn't. And if you don't have a strategy for the future, you're already behind. If you want to learn more about Golden for Culture, email me at golden4culture@gmail. That's golden, the number 4, culture@gmail.com. This isn't just about filling a gap, it's about building leadership that lasts. Golden for Culture, the future of leadership.